9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3 Podcast. My name is Kirk, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Friday, October 31st, 2025. This is episode 1912. New updates on Charlie Kirk murder and the dark truth of Dubai. Before I proceed, you can follow me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Looky Luck number 3, Looky Luck Roman number 3 with 3 eyes, or Looky Luck Roman number 3 podcast. In addition, if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me if you want to donate to PayPal.me or cash.app/Loki Luck number 3. Okay, well, hopefully everyone's having a good holiday. Some people call it religious. Hallows Eve, Samhain, all that stuff. Very Celtic indeed. Pagan, satanic, whatever you want to call it. Just be safe out there. If you're hearing this show, thank you. It's funny because I was like checking on the latest thing on the SNAP program. And of course, the judges say the president has the authority to pay the SNAP with certain monies. Well, according to his Truth Social site, the real Donald Trump, our government lawyers do not think we have the legal authority to pay SNAP with certain monies we have available. And now 2 courts have issued conflicting opinions on what we can and cannot do. I don't want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government. Therefore, I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how can we legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. It is already delayed enough due to the Democrats keeping the government closed through the monthly payment date, and even if we get immediate guidance, it will unfortunately be delayed while states get the money out. If we are given the appropriate legal direction by the court, it would be my honor to provide the funding, just like I did with military and law enforcement pay. The Democrats should quit this charade where they hurt people for their own political reasons and immediately reopen the government. If you use SNAP benefits, call the Senate Democrats and tell them to reopen the government now. Here is crying Chuck Schumer's office number, 202-224-6542. Hey, I'm not a Trump disciple by any means, but I do find it very comical. This is why, my friends, you can't blame the president for what's going on, because Congress has the power to control the monies. All right, it's not that difficult. All you gotta do is read Article 1, Section 7, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution. The House are the originators of revenue, and the Senate has to concur. Regardless of what you think. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there's too much big federal government as it is. I am not impressed by this at all. It's just very disturbing in one way and comical in the other. There are good people out there that work in the federal government are getting screwed. All right, I can say that. And even the president from the Teamsters called it out too. He says, reopen the damn government. At a press conference he had. So when you got working class people and labor organizations that's telling the Senate, the people in Congress, even the Democrats, to reopen, what's your excuse? This is what you get, folks. We have differences. But the whole thing is, it's too much of a charade game, part of this whole Malsonian playbook, which it is obscene, old, and obsolete. An old playbook, indeed. We're not in the 1930s or anything like that. It's all backfiring. This is why, as far as I'm concerned, there's too much federal government in an enhanced way. It needs to be downsized. The centralization has always been dangerous, and any Federalists warned us on this matter when they had that constitutional meeting. Patrick Henry, George Mason, a few others said centralization is dangerous. And now we all get hooked on Lacanianism, where it doesn't matter who's in there. Executive supremacy, legislative supremacy, and judicial. They all want power, baby. Who wants to rule over one another? That's why I do find this very absurd. And that's why I always stress to people, you need to decentralize yourselves the best of your ability. There's folks out there are disabled, can or have like bad, horrific disabilities that need this. But we got to learn to think and act locally, work on a community level, give these people love and support. Because remember, folks, when the federal government knows best, it turns to manure. It's like the government in general. We're just got to question these areas and observe responsibly. Well, enough said on this matter. I'm going to be reading here from G. Edward Griffin's website called Need to Know News. .news. I've been keeping tabs on what's going on. And one article here. New updates on Charlie Kirk murder indicate that U.S. military, Israel, and perhaps Egypt are involved. Candace Owens, Ian Carl, and Jimmy Dore made these claims here. As it reads, investigations at the Charlie Kirk shooting includes new information about Google Trend searches that showed people tied to the shooting were searched weeks before the shooting. The gun was discovered at a home that was searched by Israel and Washington, D.C. before the shooting. Candace said that Charlie was surrounded by people with military backgrounds. Pastor Ron McCoy was even an assistant chief of staff for psychological warfare in the Navy. And some people call him an imposter, a poser, a fraud. There is a pattern of former military people being embedded in the media and more. Charlie Kirk's security team was originally reported to be Israeli, but it seems this was fake news. Integrity Security Solutions, founded by Brian Harpo, is reported to be TPUSA's security contractor. Dan Flood is the head of the TPUSA security. On September 10th, Harpo was on the ground near Charlie Kirk and the security team at Utah Valley University. He is thought to be the one wearing the blue shirt and aviator sunglasses. The man in the black t-shirt behind Kirk, who appeared to make strange gestures with his hands and arms before the shooting, is believed to be Dan Flood. There's a full-length article on this. You can check out for yourself. Over the past few weeks, new information has been introduced into Charlie Kirk shooting event. Mickey McCoy, the chief of staff for Turning Point USA, has been criticized for calmly walking behind and away from the stage after the shot rang out and then communicating on his phone. McCoy's father, Pastor Rob McCoy, said that his son was on the phone and covered in Charlie's blood at the time of the shooting. Mikey did not intend to Charlie and had no blood on him. According to Charlie's wife, Erica, Mickey called her immediately following the shooting. Candace Owen is back on the case. She discovered that a number of TPUSA employees and others who surrounded Charlie Kirk had held positions in the U.S. military and may have acted as handlers. For instance, Frank Turek was a former officer in the U.S. Navy. Andrew Culver's brother and cousin hold high positions in the military, and Pastor Ron McCoy was a captain in the Navy and was the assistant chief for staff for psychological warfare in the Navy. Dr. Lee Trotter, who worked on Charlie, was a resident with the Air Force. Dr. Dre Amaro, Utah's new medical examiner, was a major in the Army. She said that when she worked at Prager University, a pro-Zionist media outlet, there were 2 former military pastors, and then she began working for the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's Zionist media outfit, and John Lewis was a former Navy intelligence officer who became a pastor. There's a clip on this on October 28th. You can see it for yourselves with Candace Owens. It's like 8 minutes long, but I'm going to skip that. I've seen it. And as it reads here, and another clip from Candace's show on October 27th, she obtained a video from Tyrell Farnsworth, a TPUSA staffer, used Charlie's chair as a step stool to grab a camera that had been filming Charlie. Tyrell compromised the crime scene. Candace said that Tyler Bowyer, TPUSA's chief operating officer, told her that Farnsworth was commanded by the police to remove the camera, but she said that Bowyer was lying. Farnsworth also prematurely declared that Charlie was dead. So there's stuff on here as well, on this clip. You can check it out. Of course, Shadow Ezra. Candace released footage showing Turning Point USA staffer Tyrell Farnsworth rushing to film a selfie video moments after Charlie Kirk was shot, prematurely declaring him dead. Farnsworth, one of Kirk's closest friends, was also the individual who removed the overhead. Researcher Baron Coleman, who performed Google Trends searches that showed Israel and Washington, D.C., Googled the names of the many other people related to the shooting weeks before the shooting ever occurred on September 10th. Ian Carroll made a timeline of names were Googled, which started in July after Kirk hosted TPUSA Summit featuring Israel critic Tucker Carlson. Someone from Israel Googled Hunter Kozak, who had asked Charlie Kirk the question that Charlie was answering when he was shot. Kozak is part of an organization that trailed Kirk on his campus tour and tried to troll him in questions from the left-wing perspective. Other people who were Googled included Mickey McCoy, Richard Robinson, and a surgeon at Tampanagos Hospital, Washington, D.C., searched the name of the hospital. George Zinn, the old man decoy who jumped up and said that he killed Kirk, was also searched, and he was later arrested and is linked to child porn. Dr. Trotter, Charlie's surgeon, was searched. Israel search Catherine Nestor. She is the accused shooter. Tolly Robertson's lawyer. Wow. So interesting there, right? I'll continue on here. 3 days before the shooting, Israel stretch W925 S Street, which is a stretch of the road close to the university. In July, someone in Washington, D.C. searched 683 West 925 South Street, which is the exact address where Robinson's gun was claimed to have been found. 683 Properties LLC is the homeowner. And there's a video here, about under 40 minutes long, with Jimmy Dore. It does have some language. On Candace Owens' show on October 30th, she disclosed that a plane carrying military subcontractors from Egypt flew into Provo, Utah, on September 4th, 2025, and the plane left on the day of Kirk shooting event on September 10th, but the military men were not on board the plane when it departed from Utah. She challenged FBI Director Kash Patel to deny what she said. And there's some stuff on that. So, very interesting indeed, right? And I know there's a thing, or some reports that Kash Patel flips out after Kirk assassination of Foreign Tides probe, trying to have Tulsi to shut up. And there's even a claim, too, that Kash Patel's girlfriend is Israeli. Probably saying, well, baby, if you don't seal that, you're not going to get anything in bed. Okay, dear, I'll do as I say. I'm just being allegedly, just having fun. But always question these things, my friends. I always say this, that Kash Patel is a pawn. All right? And if he is blatantly trying to censor what happened, what alleged foreign ties, I do see these lies bigger than what it is myself. He's breaching his oath of office, which is nothing new. This is why, my friends, you never trust the government, regardless who's in there. I just really find it so fascinating when people follow that hype and jump around and be in that bandwagon. Everything's awesome as long as it's in a winning team. But one thing I gotta say with Candace in general, she's trying to move it out. You can believe, you don't have to agree with her on everything. However, it's a lot bigger than what it is. And the folks gotta realize it's not 1960s anymore. It's an Aquarian age, 2025 now. And the information war is just accelerating on this matter. Well, all I gotta say is this. Like I addressed when Tyler was arrested. You better back it up. No kangaroo court show. And many of us are not gonna indulge on the Lizzie Borden syndrome. Guilty to prove it innocent. We don't want hype. We want facts. And as far as I'm concerned, I smell a mistrial, in my honest opinion. Well, I would love to hear from everyone else on this matter. All right, I'm going to do one more here. I found this on technocracy.news. Originally came from the Standard, standard.co.uk. Came out yesterday. Pretty long article, so kick back. Dubai, the dark truth. It's a magnet for Londoners, but what lies beneath the wealth and glamour? Let's see what it says here. It's by Tanya Gold. Thousands of Londoners flock to the Middle East city each year. But behind the facade is a brutally repressive regime where human rights are non-existent. We'll just check it out. See for ourselves. So Miss Gold wrote this yesterday. Dubai is a home to 250,000 British people dismayed by our high taxation, poor public services, and rain. Their numbers swell each year. One of the seven emirates of the UAE. Dubai is a polyglot city, a Babel. 90% of its residents are from elsewhere. The Gulf expert Christopher Davidson calls Dubai the ultimate liberal economic city-state, with some of the best physical infrastructure in the region. He adds, for many years, it provided ongoing political stability, which the Arab world, and especially the Gulf region, has been in a great scarcity. It has a low taxation and cheap labor. That is its lure. When I went to Dubai, I found it disorientating above all things. Capitalism meets tyranny, and I can't fathom anything worse. So you could say totalitarianism, Hamiltonianism, corporatism. I'll continue on here. They have outstanding things. The Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building. The Palm Jumeirah, an artificial archipelago created in the shape of a palm tree. And this seems to blind credulous Westerners to its reality. Dubai is a dictatorship under Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and he preserves his absolute power as dictators always do, with the repression of all potential threats. A Human Rights Watch spokeswoman says Dubai has a zero tolerance policy towards dissent and no respect for basic freedoms. There are grave crimes committed against migrant workers as well as an extremely abusive foreign policy. The UAE finances brutal militia in Yemen and the Sudan. And it's interesting here. We'll just go down. After the abortive Arab Spring and its plea for greater representation, and this thing just got big on me. Oh, right. Oh, right there. The Sheikh imprisoned dissidents, many of them lawyers. Ahmad Mansour is arguably the UAE's most well-known human rights defender. She says, going on to explain, since March 2017, he has been imprisoned in an isolation cell with barely more than a mat to sleep on. Ahmad is a close friend to many of my colleagues at HRW. He's a current member of our advisory committee. There's a claim that Soros has actually funded this, or the Open Source Foundation, but I'll continue on. Mansour is famous within the Middle East for his human rights activism, but no one really knows about his case anymore, the spokeswoman says. That it is the power of PR. Each week there is another fawning article about Dubai. Beyonce sang there. Rio Ferdinand moved there. Westerners think it is safe, which is laughable. What strikes Mustafa Qadri, founder and the chief executive of the human and labor rights organization Equitum, is the relatively low threshold that you have to reach as a human being to effectively offend the authorities. The intelligence apparatus is very sophisticated, he says. Plug in your smartphone at the airport and your data might be hacked. Everyone is being monitored in the Emirates, he says. Oh, hail to Big Brother, right? He speaks about the threat to female domestic workers, mostly women, mostly from Asia and Africa, because protections barely exist. They're seen as being, less civilized, as being dirty. Equitum has monitored members of the Emirati police force abusing their domestic workers, so imagine how other people are treating them. There are other construction workers shipped in from all over the global south to build Xanadu. He speaks now to the guileless tourists passing through Dubai. And if you've ever been there during the hot times of the year, you may have seen like tiny ants, these workers on these buildings, which are high up. You can imagine the kind of risk that these workers face. I can imagine, but I live in Britain. It isn't safe to be curious in Dubai. Working in extreme heat can cause organ failure, Quadri says. He has come across so many cases of workers falling to their deaths or losing a leg or an arm. The work is backbreaking, he says. Thousands are dying without any adequate investigation as to how they're dying. Most of them are young men. I interviewed a young Pakistani man who's working as a delivery driver. I cannot give you his name. We do it by text. He, from a room he shares with 8 people. In our country, there's nothing, he says. That's why people come to Arabic countries. He works 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. If you refuse to work long hours, the company will remove you because there are lots of people waiting in line to join, he says. His salary is 850 dirham, or 175 pounds per month. You can say it. Cheap labor? Yep, there you go. Better than go back to my country because I can't even make 850 dirham. That's why the company is taking advantage of people like me. When you're sick, they force you to work. When I ask him what it is like in Dubai, he says, no words, but still better than our own country. If you work hard, you will just survive. I will move here. I will move from here whenever I get a chance. No one comes to live here permanently. And if you are rich, he says, it is heaven. I wouldn't say that. Heaven houses the good. Rather, Dubai is the island of lotus eaters, of the morally defunct. I speak to one such, a white woman who has lived in Dubai for 2 decades. She says the education and medical systems are the best in the world if you can afford them. She has an Indian live-in helper 6 days a week who has put her 4 children through university in India with her wages. She's been able to do far better working here for us, for her family, than she would have done had she stayed in India, she says. For this woman, the advantage of Dubai is that if the rulers want it done, they find someone to do it and get it done and it gets done. Excuse me. So that makes it an extremely interesting place to live. Well, if you're a member of the privileged class, I feel like almost anything I need or want here, I could probably find someone to do it for me, she says. I think the notorious prostitution rings of Dubai, the girls who fall out of windows or girls who are raped, but not to tell the police because they might be arrested, of the criminalization of homosexuality, of what the heck? Sorry about that. Let me see here. Good grief. Oh, one moment, folks. Right there. I'll start from this paragraph. I think the notorious prostitution rings of Dubai, of guests who fall out of windows or girls who are raped but do not tell police because they might be arrested, of the criminalization of homosexuality, of women separated from their children because their husbands demand it. As the activist Ashia Ali Khan told me, we believe democracy is the right way because we have chosen in our respective countries to run things that way, the woman says. We have a ruling family that are making sure everybody is looked after and all the infrastructure is in place. Why do we need democracy? The ruling family here are doing amazing things to make sure all of us have a much better life. They are very enlightened and they are very welcoming and they're very warm. I get to use the roads, pay taxes. Those roads are built by the ruling family. What's not to like about that? And here is the num of it. I have a significantly better standard of living I can't have anywhere else. I love the city. I love the way it's growing. I love the direction it's going in. I love how welcome I feel. I love the education my kids are getting. I love the health care I'm getting. I love the money I'm saving. And I love the lifestyle. Younger people are less enchanted, but they don't need the child care. One British girl who spent her teenage years in Dubai told me, as quite an opinionated teenager, I often struggle with some Dubai's values and the realities of life there. Stark wages gap between nationality, open discrimination, and the lack of free speech or space for philosophical or political discussion. Even with my own preconceptions, it surprised me. And hypocrisy? I was only 12, she said. Yet our weekends involved drinking at beach clubs, house parties on compounds, and even hanging out with footballers who had no idea how young we were. It was ridiculously easy to get alcohol literally through a WhatsApp number. In retrospect, she says, a lot of it felt very superficial, like the epitome of materialism. There were no real parks or green spaces, just plastic grass and artificial snow in the desert. It might have looked impressive from the outside, but it often felt hollow. Another British woman, a journalist, had one pretty terrible experience. Her Emirati landlord, unbeknown to me, has spuriously made up the fact that I owed him 6 months' rent. She was tried in absentia, arrested, and taken to court. Obviously, I did not know what the hell was going on. You must pay to make the problem go away. But that is the music of Dubai. It is always in the background that you could have the rug swept from under your feet, she says. Writer Momtaza Mary first visited Dubai as a child when it was much quieter, much more subdued place. There was before the breakneck luxury and ostentatious displays of wealth. Mary is British Somali, and she found herself among the South Asian population, the Sudanese population, the Arab population from various parts of the Arab world. It was not, she says, astronomically different from the kind of communities that you would be part of in the UK. You see, like London, where I am from in Kilburn. Everyone was a citizen of elsewhere. They came here for employment. They kept their traditions. They spoke their languages. This is a south to south migration. Very interesting and tangible. It is the closest to the Philippines I have ever been. It is the closest to South India that I've ever been in terms of the presence of the food, the language, the people, and how interacted feels. And that's Dubai. I know there are so many verbs of exploitation. Dubai unsettles me because it really feels like you're approaching the world from a different center, she says. You really feel like you're at the edge of a different kind of monarchy. Murray has a gift. She makes Dubai sound like the most interesting city in the world. And that has a dark side to it, she says, because people now aspire to be like Dubai. There's so much that we shouldn't be copying from Dubai. And it gives you the numbers here. 240,000 estimate number of British experts live in Dubai. 5,000 British companies operate in the UAE, including BP, Rolls-Royce, HSBC, and Waltros. 9% estimated expatriate population of Dubai, with the largest group coming from India. 20.6%. How much lower consumer prices are in Dubai compared with London. $100,000 price to stay for one night in the Royal Mansion Suite at Atlantis, the Royal in Dubai. £175 monthly pay for delivery driver interviewed in our piece, working $12 a day and 6 days a week. I speak to Hamid Al-Shami, an Emirati descent and human rights activist. He was accused of crimes against national security in 2013. He's considered a terrorist and lives in exile in Turkey. One moment here. When it comes to the human rights to freedom of expression to civil society, they do not exist at all, he says. This is my country. I love it, but I cannot have the freedom that I have outside. He left Dubai in 2012 and last saw his mother 7 years ago. My mother is on a travel ban because of me. He says my mother is almost 80 years old. Almost all my brothers and sisters are on travel ban because the authorities, want me to come back. Collectivism 101, right? This is Mao's wet dream, you can say, right? Chairman Mao. My father-in-law, my mother-in-law are also on a travel ban. My wife has nothing to do with this. The family of my wife don't have any political activist role at all. So this collective punishment is not only my family. A lot of people suffer from the same thing. I ask him what tyranny has done to the diffident Emiratis. It's actually hard to know that Emiratis really think about their government because most people are afraid to speak openly, he says. The local media is fully controlled by the state, and any criticism is immediately labeled as hate or hostility toward the UAE, even when it comes from people who genuinely care about the country. Most Emiratis prefer to stay silent or only talk about comfort and prosperity because they're saying the wrong thing can lead to arrest or exile. That's the reality, everyone there understands. It's true. It's a truism. In a tyranny, you cannot know your own countrymen. Sometimes you can't even know your own family. Dubai isn't just a place; it's a metaphor, and that is why it's so fascinating. What we will do for money, and what will it cost us in the end? Do the British people flooding it know that? My fear is that we, in our writing democracies, will become like Dubai because to value tyranny. Whatever the name you give it, and there's words for that. Decadence, always the final age of empire. Well. What can you say about that? Police State 101? Absolutely. That's why I don't really get lovey-dovey with government at all. I bet you the Dubai self-defense technique, you put your hands up. Fight crime, put your hands up. Oh my goodness. Technocracy at its finest. Well, I can thank Technocracy News for sharing this. And hey, this is why, my friends, we've been living in a dangerous world. We all gotta be vigilant when it comes to these matters. Never trust them by any means. Don't fall for the digital ID propaganda machine because that's part of the game. It's like the COVID pass, taking the jab, doing it for your own good. We're giving up your freedom in the name of security. Trust us, we will protect you. The great monumental deception that it is. And I always get a big kick out. Certain people will foam at the mouth. They will do anything to make them feel safe. When the state says bend over, they go, how far, please? This is what happens when you got people in Dubai doing the same thing. Spread their butt cheeks and tell their masters, give it to me, baby. This is just one chilling example. This is why, my friends, we need to be vigilant and never trust the government wherever you're at. Well, that's my intake on this article. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, and all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. I will leave the footnotes of this article. You can check it out for yourselves. And if you want to donate, go to PayPal.me or cash.app/local luck number 3. If you want to support the standard and need to know news, do it and observe responsibly. Once again, thank you for your time. But always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Till next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.